Hey, welcome to week 2 of the Holistic Health Academy. Today we're going to cover exercise, how and when to move. This is one of my favorite exercises. This is one of my favorite topics to talk about, which is exercise. For me, a huge piece of health, not only physical, but mental and emotional, is wrapped up into physical health and moving in a healthy, non-judgmental, and sustainable way. So we're going to talk a lot about that today. For me, I approach exercise the same way that I approach everything else that I teach. And really, it's from a non judgmental space, meaning I try to drop the pictures around what exercise is supposed to look like or how I'm supposed to be exercising based off someone else's picture or based off some program. And what I try to do is exercise in a way that feels right to me in the moment. And what do I mean by that? So what I mean is there's going to be days when you want to go to a hot, sweaty, athletic class where you're going to want to lift weights and jump around. Totally fine, nothing wrong with that. There's going to be other days where you might want to go to a nice restorative, kind of slower, easier, relaxing yoga class. Nothing wrong with that either. There might be other days when you want to go for a run. There might want to be days when you go play a sport or go for a hike. All of these are exercise. Okay, so if you can start to understand that moving is really a synonym for exercise in a lot of ways. I'll talk about some reasons why it isn't, but in an overarching way, it really is. So if you can move and move often and move well, you're going to be checking a lot of these boxes around exercise and exercising for health and wellness rather than exercising because you think you have to or it's on your checklist, because that's not really fun. And I don't really think that's sustainable. I've been obsessed with exercising in my past and obsessed with how my physical body looked, and it wasn't fun. I suffered socially, I suffered physically through injuries. I've seen a lot of other people do that too. So try to drop your picture around what exercise is supposed to look like, and instead start to exercise in the way in which is right for you in the moment. And that might be different day to day, month to month, year to year, decade to decade, especially. One of my clients, when I first brought her on, she had to exercise, she had to do CrossFit a couple times a week in order to feel like she checked the box, in order to feel like she did enough in terms of her exercise and burned enough calories. She was overweight, she was in a lot of pain, and she was unhappy, even though she was exercising all the time. I think a big reason here is because she had so much stress and pressure on herself around exercising that it actually was blocking it from happening and working effectively and efficiently. Now she works out, probably 20% of what she used to. She does a lot more yoga. She goes for runs. She does things that feel good to her in the moment. She's the lightest she's ever been. She's the healthiest she's ever been, and she's in the least pain she's ever been in. And a large piece of that is because she's stopped beating herself up over exercising and started to decide what's the right way for her to exercise in the moment. And she's done more and more of that over the last couple of years, and that has transformed her health, not only physically, but also emotionally. And as we've talked about before, it's all connected. They intertwine with each other, okay? So in terms of, I said movement, right? What I want to clear up here is that just because you're moving, it doesn't always mean you're exercising, all right? So let's get clear on that. My basketball coach, I have it in the article, he used to say to me all the time, don't mistake movement for achievement. And I had no idea what the heck he was talking about. 10 years later, I understood what he meant. And it was just because you're moving around, just because you're doing something, just because you're busy doesn't mean you're accomplishing anything. So I said, okay, how do we apply that to fitness? Well, I think a nice way to look at it is a heated yoga class. Okay, you put someone in a heated class of 90 degrees with a bunch of other students, you're going to sweat. That's natural. If you go sit in a sauna, you're going to sweat. Now, just because you're sweating, just because you're hot, that doesn't mean that you are burning calories. Just because you're doing something doesn't mean you're achieving anything. Now, if your goal is to sweat, check. If your goal is to maximize the amount of calories you're burning or lose weight or be effective in your muscle building, then going to a hot yoga class is not that. Now, on the external, it's going to look like that. You're going to leave sweaty, all hot and bothered. Everyone's like, wow, you got a really good workout in. Did you, or did it just look like it? Same thing with SoulCycle. I'm not trying to take shots here at SoulCycle, but same thing. Crank up the heat, put a bunch of bodies close to each other, do some cardio. Everyone walks out drenched, looking like they did a ton of work. But did they really? Were they really efficient and were they really effective in their exercise? I say no. Look at the majority of people that go to spin class, look at their body types. They tend to be less defined, less muscular, less in shape than someone that's going to, let's say, like a HIIT class or a fitness class that utilizes weights. There's a reason. This is more manufactured fitness and manufactured sweat. This is more, let's call it earned or created, all right? Just start to look at that stuff. Look around. Don't take my word for it. I'm not saying go judge people, but I'm saying take a look and notice what kind of body types tend to go over here to more of a hot, fast, sweaty yoga class or spin class, and what type of body type tends to go over here into one that utilizes more weights. Usually, I think you're going to find people over here are more fit, more defined, and have higher metabolisms in the group over here. That's what I've noticed. You go do your own experiment. So don't mistake movement for achievement. So understand that all exercise is not created equally. Super important. Going to the article that I wrote for you, it's a little technical, it's a little scientific, but I'll do my best to explain it in layman's terms. In essence, we have three energy systems, okay? First one, oxidative system. This is also known as the cardiovascular system, which utilizes oxygen. Right now, all of us are in the oxidative system, unless you're out doing sprints and like listening to this in your earphones, which you're probably not. So let's just say we're all in the oxidative system. When you can talk, when you can breathe, you're in your oxygen system. You are in your cardio system, all right? This is not the most effective way to burn calories. This is not the most effective way to get fit. If you look in the handout, I used a calculation called METs. Okay, go in there and to understand what those mean. I'm not going to dive into that. But based off that calculation, walking, which is in the oxidative system, is going to burn about 200 to 300 calories per hour. Okay, nothing wrong with walking. It's relaxing. It's great for your health. It's great for your cardio. It's great for your lungs. It's not great for maximizing calorie burn or caloric burn. Second system, this is called your glycolytic system. You've heard the word glycogen before. That's kind of your stored energy system. All right. So once you start to run through oxygen, as you start to work harder, let's say now you're going for a jog, right? You've cranked up the intensity. In essence, you're almost doing the same exercise, a walk to a jog, okay? What you've done is you've increased the intensity, not necessarily the duration. You haven't really changed the exercise. You've just increased the intensity. Now, as a result, based off that MET calculation, what I've got here, you'll burn about 700 calories per hour jogging. So now, hour of walking, 200 to 300 calories, hour of jogging, 700 calories. That's a 400 or 500 calorie difference based off the intensity, not necessarily what you're doing. Again, walking to jogging, very, very similar. The difference is the intensity. Okay, that's in your glycolytic system. That's when you start to run out of oxygen. Now you have to go to your stored energy. There's a third system. This one's called ATP. And if you hear people talking about going to HIIT classes or high intensity is working more this ATP system and then also this glycolytic system. Okay, so now what's an example of ATP? Sprinting. If you're sprinting, now you're in your ATP system and you only have about 10 to 20 seconds worth of 100% effort in order to maximize how far and how fast you can go. So now you've gone from walking, you cranked up the intensity, to jogging. Now you've put it on full force to sprinting. Again, pretty much all the same exercises. The big difference is intensity. Over here with the ATP system, to burn over 1,000, if not 1,200 calories per hour through sprinting, right? So if I'm trying to maximize my time, if I'm trying to exercise the most effective way I can, get the most results without having to live in the gym, well, then what I've realized is it doesn't really matter what I do, it matters how I do it, okay? And what we're talking about, how we're doing it, is intensity, all right? So you don't need to work out for an hour or 45 minutes, 30 minutes. Get in, know the exercises you want to do, work as hard as you can for that time, and you're going to maximize the amount of effort and the amount of calories you're going to burn in an hour. Now, there's another piece here that's really important to understand, and this is for when you start to do HIIT or Tabata or high intensity stuff, sprints, jumping, lifting heavy weights. You're going to get into something what's called oxygen debt, or it's called EPOC, excessive post-oxygen consumption. What the heck does that mean, Nick? Okay, it's pretty simple. As I said before, when you go from the oxidative system to that glycolytic, that's when you're starting to run out of oxygen, and now your body has to use its fuel stores. So the body has to repay the oxygen that it had to borrow from the other system. So what this means is you go into what's called oxygen debt. And for the next 2, 3, 4 hours, your metabolism continues to rise after you work out because your body's repaying the oxygen, that you now owe it. If you want to work out in the most efficient way, HIIT training, getting into the glycolytic, the ATP system is the way to do it, because not only are you burning calories for those 30 minutes more effectively and more efficiently, you're burning calories now for the next 3 to 4 hours. Think of that. Wow, how can I do less to achieve more? I just gave you the framework. Increase your intensity, work harder for shorter amounts of time, give as much effort as you can to maximize your time in the gym, and then maximize your time and your metabolism after you leave. Okay, this stuff's out there. A lot of people just don't understand it. This will transform the amounts you need to work out, the amount you feel like you need to move and run around. You don't need to go to a cardio class every single day of the week. People do that at my gym all the time. They don't get results. It's because they're sticking over here in the cardio system. We got to get over here to glycolytic or ATP through lifting weights, strength training, or high intensity training. Okay, take this. Let me know if you have questions about this in the Viber group or on the calls. I understand this is a little technical, but at the end of the day, it's pretty simple to get once you start to understand how to break it down. We can talk about what specific exercises or ways to work out to maximize time. All right, so now what I want to talk about is how to create your workout plan or your movement or your exercise plan. For me, I've become somewhat of an expert in combining weightlifting and yoga. I'm passionate about both of them. I've been able over the years to kind of drop my pictures around what a weightlifter is supposed to do and look like, and how they're supposed to work out, and what a yogi is supposed to do, and the things they're supposed to do for exercise. And I've kind of dropped all those, which has allowed me to now combine them and see them more as complements rather than things that are pulling away from each other. I think there's things that yoga doesn't do that weightlifting does very well. And then I think there's things that weightlifting doesn't do that yoga does do very well. So the ability to combine both of these practices, also with some HIIT training that we talked about, some high intensity, I think this is really the shortcut to having a strong body, having a healthy body, and also having a strong and healthy mind and emotional body. As I said before, it's all connected. They all go together. So dive into the handout. And there I kind of broke down maybe a sample week of what you can do in terms of your movement approach, or your exercise approach. So Monday you can go in there, and I created some programs. You can dive in there and again ask questions about this in the Viber group or on the calls. Monday, let's say that's your workout day. Okay, you're going to do some big movements like a squat, like a deadlift, but it's got to be weighted. I want these things to be weighted, not in that cardio system. Okay, I want these more in this glycolytic ATP system. So you can lift some weights, and then finish with some kind of high intensity things, sprints, jumping on an elliptical machine, going full speed, doing some things with like some plyos, like jumping, doing burpees. Again, we can talk about different exercises. Really work hard, 30, 45 minutes, get in, get out, that's it. Okay, get into some oxygen debt, burn some calories, and then apply how to eat with the post-workout plan that we gave you last week. All right, Tuesday, maybe that's the day you go to yoga. You're like, no, I'm kind of sore, I'm kind of stiff. I really just want to kind of stretch it out. I want to relax, I want to recover. Go to yoga. What's nice about this is if you are an advanced yogi or a yoga practitioner, lifting weights is going to make you sore. So then when you go to yoga on Tuesday, you almost feel like more of a beginner. Like down dog can get really hard, warrior two can get really hard. I think that's kind of fun if you've lost some interest in yoga, or you kind of wish that it used to be, that it's challenging like it used to be. Lift weights the day before and go to yoga the day after, you'll feel like a beginner, trust me. All right, Wednesday then, for example, lift some weights again, but you're going to do a different exercise, a different body part than you did on Monday. On Monday you did squats, then on Wednesday maybe you're doing some back or some pull-ups. Finish with some high intensity, get in, get out. Thursday, yoga. Friday, lift some weights. Saturday, yoga. So we just kind of rinse and repeat. I think a really nice way to do this is lift, yoga, And now, if that's twice a week total for you, that's fine. If it's 3, that's fine. I've noticed as I've gotten older, in my mid-30s now, if I work out more than 3 or 4 times a week, my body starts to hurt and I start to create a lot of tension and a lot of kind of just like ickiness in my shoulders, my joints, my hips. So for me, I found 3 is kind of my sweet spot. Anything more than that, I start to really break my body down. You know, that's what I was talking about. What's appropriate for you in the decade, in the year? You know, what was right for me at 25 isn't right for me at 35. You all may be finding something similar. So find ways to approach your fitness and your movement that are sustainable. You know, again, when people come into our gym and they're like, I want to work out every day, I'm going to take every class. I'm like, yeah, and you're not going to be here in a month. I don't say that to them, but there's a reason that I know this to be true more or less. It's because it's not sustainable. People burn themselves out. It's called a start-stop. I'm going to go 100%. I'm going to work out all the time, and then after 2-3 weeks, I've hurt myself. I've ran out of gas. I understand I can't keep this momentum, so they quit. If 2 or 3 times a week for exercising is all you can do, and that's sustainable, do that, and then don't judge yourself for doing that. That is key. And if you don't judge yourself, your body's going to respond better. It's going to digest better. It's going to heal faster. It's going to create more muscles and burn more calories just by believing that you're doing enough rather than believing you aren't doing enough. Kind of like the student I shared the story with at the beginning who was doing CrossFit all the time and it wasn't working. So take this idea of maximizing your time in the gym, moving more away from the oxidative to more of the glycolytic or the ATP system. And then I suggest you start to incorporate a combination of lifting weights with high intensity and a yoga practice over here, or even a mindfulness practice, a meditation practice, again, which we'll talk more about that stuff in the next module. In actually module 3, we'll get into kind of more of the mindfulness stuff around peace, a little more meditation stuff. But ask any questions that you have around this video, around the article. I know there's some scientific stuff in there, so feel free to ask away. There's no stupid questions. Pop them into the Viber group. And then when you come to the group call on Friday, bring all your questions on nutrition and exercise and movement, and we'll answer those the best that we can. So if you haven't done so already, go in there to the article, read through there, go through some of the links in there. If something doesn't work, let me know. Continue to do your scorecard for nutrition and now for exercise. How many times a week you're exercising? You know, how's it looking? If you want to chart down how long you work out for, that's totally fine too. And then outside of that, do any homework that's in there, and then we'll see you on the call Friday. And keep doing what you're doing. Be happy, be healthy, be well, and see you soon. Peace.